What is up, everybody? Welcome to Narcocop MMA. I am your host, Narcocop, along with my co-host today. This is the Dana White's Contender Series, Week 4. Some really good fights here. I'm looking forward to this. I have a pretty good number of bets on this show here. And we had a winning week last week, so a tiny winning week, that is, but at least we got in the win column. I do want to shout out my great people in the chat here. It's Grateful Dude, it's Mushroom, it's William Tyner, it's my buddy Tim, the Play and Fade Sports. Yes, those guys are the best there. Danny Meyer, Mike Z, thank you all for being in here. Balboa Fight Picks, Author, and John Smith. But let me introduce my co-host here. Without further ado, I will introduce Gordo Gambles here. What's up, Gordo? How you doing? Are you ready for Week 4 of Dana White's Contender Series?
I am always ready, man. You got some fights on a Tuesday night. You know what I do on my tape, doing research, place all my bets, and this is the time to come to see. You guys are very smart gentlemen. I get to compare my bets, my reads against you guys, and I love breaking down these fights with you guys. Every Monday night, guys, Week 4 going in. I'm having fun. Let's keep her going.
Let's keep going, Gordo. Let's do this. Let's have a big week starting with our Tuesday. So my next co-host here is none other than Liam. Liam Picks Fights. What's up, my brother? How you doing? I know you were earlier on a show, so you're just grinding shows here. Are you ready for this Week 4 card?
Absolutely, man. Ready to get back at it. Much better showing for the Action Network article that I put out last week than the week prior, so was very happy about that progress. But the individual bets I ended up tracking, I ended up going with 2 positions and turned out well on one, not so good on the other. So I'm just looking to get back on the winning track here on Contender Series. And I got a couple spots I like this week. So yeah, excited to get after it.
Beautiful, my man. Let's get it going. Let's crush this whole week, starting with our Tuesday. And we will start off with the first fight of the night at the 155-pound division. It is Nazim Sadikov versus Jesus. This is going to be a tough one, guys. Bear with me.
Good luck.
Suhail Hassanzada. I will give this one off to Gordo. What do you have here for your play?
You know what? You pronounced it better than I would. Good for you on that one. But this is one that I got at a bit early. I didn't get the best of the line, but I did take some of the underdog, Ahmad Hassanzada, at plus 195. It's a really good fight. I'm going to admit that right there. But I do think that the line is a bit wide because when we do the tape, what the main takeaway from that Hassanzada side is that he's a guy who leaves a bit left on the table. Both these guys have lower level of competition, but what we see from the Ahmad side is that he makes some mistakes. He's very active off his back, but he doesn't try to get up. I think that he's a guy who's still improving and getting better, and he's going to have a decent career as his fights go on. But right now, I think there's some spots that he needs to improve on. With that being said, I don't think that Nazim Sadikov is the guy to take advantage of those defensive liabilities or those defensive tendencies of Ahmad in this spot. And therefore, I think at plus 195, I think he was the better option at the spot. I think that on the feet, I think actually Ahmad's going to be the more technical fighter, the guy who, although they both bring power, he's by, I think, with the most technical ability. I think he's a bit bigger as well. I think he's faster. I think that, you know what? I think he's a guy who's going to maybe even have the ability to hurt Nazim on the feet. And a guy, Nazim, who I didn't see take punches necessarily too well throughout time, and especially at this low level of competition, I think these are both going to be some of the best guys they fought. So give me the tougher guy, in my opinion, in Ahmad, a guy who's got that toughness, got good cardio, and I think he can go out there and pressure Nazim and be the better striker on the feet. The one fear for me would be that takedown defense and playing too much off his back, not wanting to get up. But I think in a fight here against Nazim, he's going to have the ability to win on the feet. And at plus 195, I did take a shot on Ahmad Hassanzada to start the night.
All right, Gordo starting the night off with a banger with the underdog, Ahmad Hassanzada. You got a good line, plus 190. What'd you say, 195? It's a great
line.
I
know that wasn't the peak of it, but I did hop in pretty early. I will admit, again, we're trying to talk about a show on a Monday night. So let's see. At plus 176 right now, best market wide. I do think there's also some value on that spot as well. I think it's a lot closer fight than anyone at a minus 210 price tag would entail. I think that Ahmad should be the slight favorite here. So I still like it at the price tag you have now.
All right. Gordo is telling you guys he still likes it at plus 176, which is on FanDuel. Liam, what's your take on this fight?
Would tend to agree with my man Gordo. So, unfortunately for me, one of the problems I deal with on the Contender series is, there's very limited access in New York. So this is something where I kind of wait. I let and see the market develop a little bit, and I look for props. I look for a couple different ways to get involved because I can drive to Jersey and get access to books. But if I'm going to do that, I kind of want to have all my ducks in a row beforehand. So in this case, I think that you'd think I'd come in on the other side, right? Because we got a native New Yorker here, Law MMA. But that did burn me earlier this year on Contender Series, especially when the line was a little bit too chalky on a favorite. Now, granted, you watch that fight, and I think you can understand why we got to the play. He was looking great, and then he got hit with one punch. He's never gone down before. He went down bad. Okay, happens. But this is kind of a different situation because we actually have evidence that Nazim can, be defeated, right? He had a bout that was actually scheduled for 4-minute rounds. It wasn't even a 5-minute round, and he was submitted in the first round there. So only 4 minutes on the clock. His opponent was able to make full use of that. Now, it was a really, dumb mistake from him. He threw a spinning back kick, gives his back, but he also was doing well in the hand fighting and then just stopped hand fighting, which for me was kind of like a sign like, oh, I can't get out, minute and a half still on the clock. I might as well just get out of here. So didn't like that. I thought there could have been a little bit more resistance there. It looked like he had the skills, just looked like he might have broke mentally because he had been in a bad position for a while. So, not trying to speak out of turn, he seems like a tough guy. He obviously has power. That's what's been his, real standout feature throughout his career. He's landed a lot of big shots, heavy shots. Joe Borshik, tough guy, normally stays in there, takes a beating for a long time. Wasn't able to take a long beating, just got hit, went down early, but I think that's also a bit of an accumulation of damage. Not really sold on the resume of him to be a big favorite here. I feel like the other guy, Hassan, has been out there fighting reasonably tough competition, and I like how he's responded to adversity. Like Gordo mentioned, from his back, he's never conceding a position. He attacks more subs than most guys I can remember, from their back on the regional scene. He's throwing up triangle, armbar, whatever. I don't even know that he's the world's best jiu-jitsu guy, but he's just making it so you're always in a fight, and so you're always uncomfortable. He won a 30-27 unanimous decision where he spent probably 8 minutes on his back. So I don't think that that's like a bankable thing that you're going to take to a UFC title. He's going to have to get better at getting up to his feet. He's going to have to get better at defending takedowns, but just seems like he is a really aggressive fighter that's not going to give you a comfortable fight from any position. So unless he gets chin checked early here, I think he's going to make it a good scrap.
All right. Again, we have Hassanzada. Liam is on Hassanzada. And, this is one of the fights that I really pretty much dug deep into tape. Did you guys get to see Hassanzada's loss at all? Because it was hard to find, but I found it. It's on YouTube, but you got to really dig deep for it. I did find it. And, the fight is against a guy that's primarily a grappler in Burko. This guy, Burko, I believe, is a black belt. He's just literally a grappler. And in this fight, Burko has him. Go ahead. You have something, Liam? Okay. In this fight, Burko has top time. He gets pushed off because, like you guys mentioned, he's always working from bottom. He stands up, gets caught with a right hand against this guy, gets dropped on his back. Then Burko lands one follow-up punch, and I do believe the referee stopped it a little early. But the look from that fight was very concerning, that a guy that's literally a grappler drops you like that. And then, eventually you get stopped from this guy. The other level of opposition, James Wilson is literally a wrestler. He has no striking whatsoever. He's a Stanford guy that wrestled at Stanford, doesn't show any striking. But however, is Hassanzada skilled? Yes, I do think he's skilled. He's got some decent striking, good kicking game. He's very active from his back, always going for subs. And the one thing with Nazim is he gets put in pretty stupid spots. He was put in a stupid spot against John Herrera, where he almost got subbed. Ahmad, we know, is going to be working for subs if it's ever down there, because that's all he does. He's a madman. But the one thing I love in this fight, and I think it's a line that is kind of blown out now. It's minus 200, but the under 2.5. Hassanzada to me is a killer be killed type of fighter. This guy's a madman on the feet, going crazy. And honestly, I really do believe Nazim is the better technical striker. He's actually got really crisp boxing. He has a ton of power in his hands. And Hassanzada is very reckless on the feet. So the under 2.5, I played it at minus 160, 3.2 units. I did also play Hassanzada by submission, which was pretty crazy at plus 1,000. That line has completely moved now. I believe it's sitting at...
Some would say cut in half.
Yeah, it's 500. It was plus 1,000, which when I saw it, I'm like, dude, I'm playing this. This guy always puts himself in stupid spots, and this guy's always throwing up submissions. How can I not play plus 1,000? The other thing I honestly did like, and I did play, is the plus 500 KO line for Nazim, because I do think he's the better striker. I do think he has a ton of power. And like I said, the one bad look that I saw from Hassanzada, the one guy that was actually good, decent fighter, good fighter that he's fought, he got dropped and got hurt. And the guy's a grappler. So I have to look at that KO line. It was plus 500. I did play it there. I do think Nazim can knock this guy out. And the other thing that, people are thinking Nazim's going to grapple. I don't see it, honestly. I don't think this guy likes to fight on the feet. He's not a grappler. And we had a guy from his camp in Spaces that's trained with him a bunch tell us this guy does not grapple. He's a striker. He does not like people wrestling him. So with that being said, I like the under a lot here, but I also like those props on either side. I really, to pick a side, I'm not going to lay this minus 200, whatever with this guy, but I can't fault you if you're taking plus money on Hassanzada, because I do think he's pretty talented. That was long-winded. Sorry, guys, but that's the one I broke down the most on tape. Moving on, it's fight number 2. It's Hailey Cowan versus Cláudia Leite. Liam, you can hit this one for us.
Yeah, so again, don't want to nerf my own read before it's available, but that's the nature of the show. Gonna just share a little bit of what I think, and I was really surprised, to see what the opener was for this fight. Saw minus 155 open up on the Hailey Cowan side, and just feel like this is a fight that's destined to be a pick'em at best. When you talk about Hailey Cowan, just based on her style of fighting, a lot of times she likes to barrel her way into the clinch. She likes to, grab a hold of girls, and she ends up on top of a lot of the girls she fights. And I mean, she's just, I feel like her fight with Clayton, the one that she lost, was one continuous submission attempt. It was literally just like submission transition, like, and for me, the problem there was more so that she had all the wrong answers. I'm a blue belt. I'm not trying to, pretend I'm like the smartest grappler in the world or anything, but just like there's some things that you get taught early on. Somebody gets you in an armbar, you want to stack a lot of weight on them, especially on their head and their neck, so they're not comfortable, so they can't stretch it out. And she was not squaring up her hips. She was kind of just laying off on the side, letting this girl create angle after angle after angle after angle. And then remarkably, she survives to the second round, only to then get hurt on the feet and instantly submitted with like a jumping guillotine by like a 36-year-old. So just real question marks for me on somebody that was favored to win the fight. So I can understand why some money came back the other way. Now, am I blown away by the level of competition? Am I blown away by who Leite's been fighting? No, God, no. I mean, she's been not fighting very good girls, but, she does look aggressive. She looks like she has attacks from space and in the clinch. She fires knees to the body. She hurt a girl so bad with a knee to the body that the girl like quit instantly. She got hit with the knee and was like, yo, I'm out of here. And like started falling sideways. She got hit with another knee and a big straight for her troubles. And I think she's extremely aggressive. She's got some stoppages by TKO. She doesn't show that many wins by sub, but then you look at her credentials and she's training with Natalia Santos, who's like, by the way, guys, one of the more underranked BJJ practitioners in the UFC, right? Everybody was like, oh, she's a blue belt. What's she going to do to Talia? I don't know. Or excuse me, to Shevchenko. I don't know. Take her back. Hold on to it for 12 and a half minutes. It's like, yeah, there's a pretty sophisticated grappling system for those girls in Brazil, and they're strong as shit. I think Leite fits that bill. You know, she doesn't have the world's greatest physique, but I do think it's made improvements over time. I do think she's looking a little bit more muscular for this weigh-in. Cowan's obviously a little bit more impressive physically, but I've seen Cowan waste all her energy picking girls up, slamming them, and then getting armbarred later. So it's just, for me, there's too many problems with her grappling. It's too many situations she puts herself in that are questionable. Does she train with the right girls? Yes. You know, Miranda Maverick, Elevation Fight Team. A lot of people that you'd want to surround yourself with to improve, to get better. She is still, you know, at a stage in her career where maybe she can make those improvements. She was relatively green for a lot of those fights, you know, not a ton of fights under her belt. So maybe we see a better product here, but based on all those question marks, based on all the bad positions, frankly, I've seen her put herself in, you know, when I see a plus 385 or so on the submission, these kind of things, I am thinking to myself, man, that seems like a wide number given how many opportunities I expect her to have. If the fight plays out on the feet, you know, maybe it looks silly, but I just think no matter who's on top, like she was frankly like blessed to not be underneath Clayton. Like Clayton barreled into her and she hit like this like lucky reverse roll through to get on top into a leg lock exchange. Like that happens 5% of the time, 10% of the time. The rest of the time she just got barreled over and taken down. So it's like, I think that there's a lot of potential holes in her game. I understand why money's come in on the underdog, but I would be more so looking for that big plus money price on the inside the distance or the sub price or something like that than I would necessarily be wanting to bank on Leite, because what does her wins really mean? I'm not sure. She hasn't fought that many talented competitors.
All right. So I have a couple of questions for you, because I never rolled much. I did it for 3 months. I don't know shit about it. I can't act like I'm some professional. And I never wrestled, right? One, when you watch Leche's last fight, did her shots not look good for women's WMMA? I mean, those shots for takedowns looked really good. I mean, I don't know. I'm asking you as a wrestler, what do you think about those shots in her last fight?
I think she's good, man. Like, the question I have is, does it translate? You know, physicality is huge. People want to talk about the techniques. I love the techniques, right? I know a lot of the techniques, but if you go against somebody who's a muscle hoss, sometimes they don't always work. I think that she has the right finishing mechanics. I think that she has good entries. So I think she should be able to get takedowns in this fight if she looks for them. I think Cowan makes enough mistakes to let that happen. But I also think, let's say it works in reverse, right? Let's say she takes a shot, doesn't work. Hailey Cowan spins behind. I think she's going to roll to guard and be the more impressive guard player. And Cowan's going to be the one in danger and wasting energy and feeling the panic of being in these exchanges where she's a purple belt who's going with Talia Santos and Josiane Nunes and Astra Fight Team and a bunch of other credible professional fighters in the grappling. And she trains in the gi and she trains out of the gi. Whereas I can't find Cowan training in the gi. You know, she's like a girl who does MMA, right? She's not a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think that this is a jiu-jitsu practitioner that can give her problems.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I watch Cowan, and again, I'm not like some professional, like I said, with jiu-jitsu, but she looks awful, dude. Honest to God. She looks awful on the ground. I mean, there's no, like, I'm not going to even mince it. Like, she does not look good down there. Like, you know, when Brittany Cloudy got her down, you know, Brittany Cloudy usually strikes. Like, she got her down. She's on top. Like, you know, this Kelly Clayton girl, you know, subs her. I mean, she's fought very, very low level of opposition. I mean, we want to talk about who Leche's fought. Like, we can't say Cowan's fought anything any better, you know. And the one thing I did see from Leche's that was improved substantially was her cardio in the last fight, right? She went 5 rounds. She still was shooting takedowns. She still got the sub in the 5th round, albeit we're not going to say this girl that she's fighting is like, you know, some killer, but the point is she went 5 rounds. She was still shooting takedowns, and she shot takedowns that whole fight. And I do think, you know, she's going to – Cowan makes a ton of mistakes, like you said. Even if she's to get on top, she might still get subbed, honestly, from this girl, because I don't think Cowan's any good. Like, even her striking, outside of, like, some of her kicks are decent, but her striking is not all that either. And I would – you know, Leche is not good at striking either. So – to me, like, I'm not playing. I think this line's about accurate, you know, even money here. However, I did play the submission prop. It was plus 550. I played it earlier in the day. I just, like I said, when I looked at tape on Cowan, man, she looked awful on the ground. at least Leite, I saw her, grappling with some of the best girls in the world in Brazil. She's going for subs all the time when she's on top. She's passing guard sometimes. A lot of times she's sitting in guard, but there's a bunch of times that she's passing guard. She's going to full mount multiple times. So if she does that, I think Cowan makes a ton of mistakes, and she might just give up a sub. So that's my only bet on this fight. It's sub plus 550. Gordo, I don't want to go on and on about this, but what do you have here?
Well, first of all, great spot in that line. I absolutely love that play. Good for you. But I think Liam hit the nail on the head here when we're talking about the description I wanted to give here is you have a girl in Cowan who is brute force, physicality monster. And sometimes when you have someone who is as physical as she is, she's not going to be one to stand at range and like to strike for 15 minutes because that's probably her most likely path to victory. But does that bode well with her style of fighting? Does that bode well with who she is as a person? Because in reality, it's a physical brute force kind of person versus someone who's more technical and someone who's grittier, in my opinion. And I think that in those spots, I want the grittier fighter because I think that not only on the ground, but also with the way their styles clashes is Leite's going to have the ability to not only be on the ground with her, but be a step ahead and have the advantages in a lot of the aspects, not only the wrestling and the grappling, but also the clinch control, the pressure. And I think that the way that Cowan stumbles into range, the way she comes in close, the way she clashes forward really leaves the opportunity for Leite to play into her game, to take her down, to use those aforementioned improved wrestling chops that Narco did mention. And therefore, I do think Leite is a decent spot here. I'm taking a second dog to start. I didn't get as cute with that sub line. I think that that's a great spot here because that's most likely your path to victory, but I could also see some minute winning. For me, that one question was doing the tape was, how is Leite's cardio? I know we see 5-round fights recently, but it didn't look pretty before that. She's facing someone who is fighting elevation. So you have to think that that's going to play a role. And you have to think that Cowan's going to have the better endurance here. But I think that if we look at someone who's going to win the minutes with their way their styles are clashing, of course, it's a kickboxing bout. We're going to take Cowan, but I don't think that Cowan's style allows her to stay at range that long. I think Leite moves forward. I think Leite wins the fight at a high clip. Minutes, grappling, ground control time, wrestling. I'm going to take the dog at Leite. I'm not here to talk about the line that I got prior because I did get a better line now. I still think that at plus 100, I don't think that Leite should be the dog with the way the styles clash. So I think she's a decent spot. 2 dogs in a row to get her started.
Gordo is barking here early. 2 straight dogs for him. I don't mind it. I mean, I'm not very impressed with Cowan whatsoever, but I'm going to stay away. I usually stay away from low-level women's MMA fights in the UFC. I think I could do the same on Dana White's Contender Series. But we'll move on here. In the 135-pound division, it is Jack Cartwright versus Jose Johnson, and I can kick this one off. I watched Jack, and he's to be honest, he's fought fairly low-level competition. He got headbutted about 10 times in his last fight, and one via repeated headbutts. If that's ever, I think that's the first time I've ever seen that, where somebody wins off of disqualification because of repeated headbutts written on Tapology. But his Fanny win was good. I mean, it was a nice win where he took him down, got the arm triangle. He knocked out Scott Malone, who's a Cage Warriors veteran. He does have power. I will say he throws with a lot of power. But man, something that I don't like, and I really dislike it as coming from a striking background, is he's so damn flat-footed. Cartwright is completely flat-footed when he's striking. He's never on his toes whatsoever. I mean, the guy is literally flat-footed, which is very bad for, if you're a striker. Now, the other thing I dislike is his hands are down a lot. Like, he can get cracked on the feet. He doesn't keep his hands up, which also is not a good look. And now he's fighting a guy in Jose Johnson who, to me, has a ton of experience. Between amateurs and professional, I think he has 58 fights total. The guy's still only 27. He's only been KO'd 1 time in 58 fights total. So we can say his chin is probably pretty good. I don't think, I know he's been subbed multiple times, but I don't think Jack Cartwright is all that good on the ground. I know he has decent wrestling and stuff, but I don't think he can sub him here. The thing that I do like here is I feel like both guys are durable. I feel like both guys are tough. And with that being said, because I think both guys are durable, because I think both guys are tough, fight goes to decision is plus 190 in a 135-pound bantamweight fight. I get it. When you look at Jose Johnson, he's got a bunch of finishes. When you look at, Jack Cartwright, he also has a bunch of finishes. But, man, it's styles makes fights, and I do think both these guys are super durable. On the feet, I favor Jose Johnson. He's the much longer guy. He's the better striker. He's the much cleaner striker. But on the ground, I do think Cartwright can get this fight to the ground. It's a matter of holding. Johnson keeps working, man. And you saw it in the Mo Miller fight. He kept working until Mo Miller completely gassed, and then he got him with the triangle from bottom. I don't think that's going to work against Jack, like the triangle from bottom, but I think this fight is pretty close. I don't favor one side or other. I think this line is about accurate. If I had to choose a side, I would take Jose Johnson because I do think he's the much cleaner striker. But I do like Jack's power, honestly. I think he does carry a lot of power. And, Jose Johnson's been knocked out by Mana Martinez, who I do think has legit one-punch power. So with that being said, I'm not taking a side. However, I do like fight goes to decision. It's plus 190. I think that line is a little too big here for bantamweights. Gordo, what do you have?
Yeah, I seem to be with you. I think out of all 5 fights tomorrow night, this is my one to pass. This is my one to pass from a betting perspective. With that being said, this is a betting show. Let's give you guys a pick. We're not here to just say pass. I'll give you guys a pick. Gun to my head, I'm taking 3 dogs in a row. I think that this is Jack Cartwright's fight to lose. I think that if I had to choose a side, I think he is the better mixed martial artist. I think he's a guy who's going to be out there to lose the fight in general because he not only has that ground game to control someone in Jose Johnson, but also has that power to knock him out as well. I think it's his fight to implement it and take over. With that being said, there's also a lot of things to be desired from him as well. You have, like Narco mentioned, him being flat-footed. You have his tentativeness and the striking, the ability to not always go out there and win those wrestling, the low level of experience. It's a tough really one to go out there and want to bet him because, I mean, the guy with more experience, guy with better technical striking is going to be Jose Johnson. But we look at the all-around better mixed martial artist, in my opinion, it's going to be Jack Cartwright. I think if you look at a narrative perspective as well, Jose Johnson's had a lot of opportunities to get here. I think that he's liked, but Jack Cartwright's 10-0. I think that the UFC wouldn't mind getting him in there in this spot. So give me Jack Cartwright with a gun to my head, but this is a spot really I'm staying away from betting perspective.
All right. He is on the dog again, but no bet for him. Man, Gordo, you're loving the darts this week. Liam, what do you got here?
Yeah, so this is one of the fights that I definitely got to brush up my tape on the Cartwright side a little bit more. But in terms of Johnson and what he brings to the table, Mo Miller is a guy that I've had my eye on. I think he kind of fought like a bonehead, to be fair, in that fight. Spent so much energy in round 1. And he was almost like overzealous for the finish. The UFC probably told him, go get one finish on the regional scene and we'll sign you. And that's what he fought like. He was literally just trying to grab this rear naked choke 500 times in a row. Basically pulled the same face crank that didn't work 4 times, and like Johnson looked very uncomfortable, but he just knew this isn't really a choke. I'm eventually going to be able to turn my face out of this. And he's a tough guy. So he just waded through some pain. And I think that eventually Mo was starting to slow down there a little bit. Now, Dulani Perry, that was not really a fight. That was kind of a non-entity sort of fight. Leo Mana Martinez, he does have a left hook money punch. And I think anybody that watched his regional career kind of knows about that. When he lands the left hook, bodies hit the floor. So I don't want to hold that against him either. 14-7 sounds like a bad record, but I've mentioned this on my show before. Fighters that are younger, which he is by, I think, 1.5 years or so, but I believe he's the younger fighter. When they are younger and they have more experience, that's an angle for me. Typically, I like to look for those kind of fighters because people undervalue them. They take more losses, right? They've already had a bunch of fights. And so when you've taken more fights, you have more opportunities to lose. When you take fights against tough guys, you have more opportunities to lose. When you fight a bunch of midgets and cage warriors, and I say that with all due respect, it's a little bit easier to keep that record going. And I like Cage Warriors. There's a lot of good fighters in Cage Warriors too, but I think he's had some size, some physicality advantages that maybe won't be as pronounced, once he steps up in competition. I did think Johnson looked like the bigger fighter. If he gets knocked out, I'm not going to be stunned. I'm not going to be surprised. The guy's got big power. He swings heavies, but I just have a feeling the more well-rounded, in terms of his ability to work through more problems, because he's seen it in the cage, is Johnson. And I think that his composure in the Mo Miller fight was really impressive. A lot of guys find a way out when they're under that kind of duress. Mo never gave him a break. He basically tackled him and tried to put him in chokes for 5 minutes, full throttle. And that for me was a really impressive performance in terms of poise. He's got to stop giving up these bad positions, but I think he's a tough enough guy. So I think I like Johnson to figure this one out, and Cartwright will probably be back, but I think Johnson gets the win.
All right, Liam on Jose Johnson here. We will move on. It is fight number 4. It's at the 185-pound division. It's Claudio Ribeiro versus Iván Valenzuela. Gordo, kick this one off for us.
Ooh, fun. All right, when I did my tape, you guys won't believe this. I'm not much of a dog guy, but when I finished my tape, I was on 4 dogs in a row because I was on the Iván Valenzuela side. And I took him as well. Now, he is no longer the underdog. He is the favorite, and I think that is justified in my opinion. I do think he is the better fighter in my opinion, and I think seeing the weigh-ins today and seeing that size advantages, that really made me feel even better in him. But let's look at the styles real quick. I think Ribeiro is a guy who, although he's had impressive fights so far, they've been against very low level of competition, and I think that his technique and style isn't one that's going to bode very well because I see him back up all the time. I see him a guy who can be pressured. I see a guy with not the best punching technicality, and whereas it is powerful punches, it's not one that leads me to think he's going to have a great UFC career because he backs up, he swings these wild hooks, and it's one that I think that's not really going to do that well unless he's facing that low level competition. Same thing with that takedown defense. I think that leaves a lot to be desired as well, and I think that Claudio Ribeiro is a guy who is going to be able to be taken advantage of by this better level of competition. I'm not saying Iván Valenzuela is some world beater, but I do think he has a decent path to victory in this spot. Not only is he super, super aggressive, but I think he has the better striking technique. I think he has the durability to keep up with those unorthodox hooks from Ribeiro. I think he has the anthropomorphic advantages and even the wrestling in the spot really to seal the deal if he really has to. I think that he's going to be the guy walking forward. I think he's going to be the guy landing the harder shots. I think he's going to have that wrestling in his back pocket if he wants to go there. I'm actually really liking Iván Valenzuela a lot more than I really should. This is a very low level affair. I will give you guys that because I probably shouldn't be this confident in him. But Claudio Ribeiro is a guy who I think should have his work cut out for him here. I think he's got a lot to be improved on. And I think that he's been doing well against that low level of competition. And I think when he finally gets that step up, he's going to pay the price. I see Claudio walking backwards. I see him being pressured by Iván Valenzuela. And I see him just being outworked for a lot of this time because I don't think he's going to be able to find that knockout punch on Iván Valenzuela. With that being said, the one downfall I will give Iván is he doesn't throw that much volume. Although with that being said, I think that Claudio gives him the matchup to throw more volume because Claudio's going to be walking backwards the whole time. And I do think Iván's going to have the ability to let his hands go a lot more than he has in the past. I'm actually really liking Iván Valenzuela as much. Hopefully you guys don't see otherwise. I think his size helped me today. I think he might be one of my favorite picks on the card.
All right. You are on Mr. Iván Valenzuela. Liam, what do you like here, buddy?
Yeah, this is a pass fight for me. I don't think either one of these guys is very good at MMA from everything that I could tell. But it's early on, so maybe we see some improvements over time. 29 years of age, still an age where you can make improvements. At 185, probably won't age out till 33, 35, something like that. So, there's a chance that he could round out into a decent enough prospect. Kind of like you mentioned, hasn't really faced a very high level of competition, but Lux Fight League has produced some guys that have made it to the UFC, that have gotten a couple wins under their belt. So, nothing that'll blow your hair back, but I do think that they're okay. On the Ribeiro side, he's extremely sloppy. I would say he's an effective fighter, but he's not very technical with a lot of what he does. I will say he's got impressive balance. Like there were guys trying to take him down along the fence line, and he was doing everything wrong and not going down, over and over and over. So I did think that was kind of interesting. If he learned a little bit of technicality, it would go a long way in some of those exchanges. Like if he just dug an underhook, because he's already very hard to get off his feet. In that sense, I thought his balance looked pretty good. But outside of that, I mean, he's throwing punches from his hips. He's winging shots like this. Like actually, oh my God, I almost knocked over my microphone. But my man's actually firing some of the ugliest punches you'll see, but they're effective punches. He lands the shots and guys hit the ground. So as he steps up in competition, I find that more and more people will be able to block the shots, read them, get out of the way, and force him backwards. Because when he's backed up against the fence, like Gordo mentioned, his game's a lot less effective. He's kind of got to get you backed up to the fence so he can feel comfortable unloading in his offense. And I'm not sure that's going to happen. So yeah, I'll come along with you as far as picking Valenzuela, but I'm not going to be betting on this fight.
Yeah. Another buddy on Valenzuela, Liam. I'm on the opposite side, man. I'm on Ribeiro here. I got actually 2 units on Ribeiro at plus 115. I think he's the better striker, first of all. Valenzuela, honestly, is extremely sloppy in the striking. I don't know if you guys watched some of his tape against Centino. And, I mean, Centino looks horrible, and he kept landing the over right hand every single time he threw it against him. And he's a much, much smaller. Centino actually fights at welterweight. He's a small guy, and he was landing punches on him. I mean, this guy has beat, Brandon Kessler. This guy's 40 years old. Look at this. Has 9 wins. None of his opponents have a single win. None of a single win, and he's got 9 wins. I don't think that's easy to do here. But, the level of opposition has been terrible. The one loss he has, it's like whatever, it's fine. It was early in his career. But not that Ribeiro is special or he's fighting really high-level opponents. But I think speed is a big factor here, man, when it comes to the punching. His striking for Ribeiro is much faster. I mean, his hands are way faster. His combinations, even though they're wild, are much faster than Valenzuela's. And, if I was to think that Valenzuela is like a grappler, I would not like Ribeiro here. But Valenzuela really doesn't grapple. The guy's a Muay Thai guy. He's a striker. He loves striking. That's all he does in his fights. Even when you watch him, this guy fought at 170 before. And, this guy has been primarily a striker his whole career. He's a Muay Thai guy. That's all he knows. And so if you're going to fight a guy like Ribeiro that has, honestly, he's got huge power, man. He's got a lot of power in his hands. And if you're going to give him the fight that he wants, which plays on the feet, I'm going to have to favor him against a guy that, to me, Valenzuela, is sloppy on the feet. He's not clean on the feet. He's getting hit against guys like Santino and stuff like that. These guys are not good at all. If Ribeiro lands, dude, he's putting you out. He's got very big power. And the one guy I'll go back to, and it's not a guy that's great, right? I'm not going to say this guy's great, but the last guy he fought, he was 40 years old or whatever he was, but he's a grappler. He's a grinder. This guy grapples a ton. But this guy's went to decision with good guys like Alan Patrick, Warley Alves. The guy he fought has fought really good guys. And I think he dropped that guy literally maybe 5 times in that 5-round fight. And the guy just has massive power. He's carrying his power throughout the fight, which I really like. I just think he's going to catch Valenzuela. Valenzuela is not defensively sound. His striking is very slow. And I do think that you're right that Ribeiro backs up to the cage a lot, but he likes to counter. And part of the reason he was backing up to the cage is because he was facing a lot of wrestlers, and he was trying to use the fence as a way, to not get taken down. And he did a pretty good job. But I don't think Valenzuela is going to wrestle, and that's the issue. So I do like the Ribeiro side. I like the plus 115. I think it's less now. It's minus, it's about even money, minus 103, 110. I think he's going to knock out this Valenzuela guy, man, to be honest. I don't like what I saw from him when it comes to striking, and he's a Muay Thai guy. I mean, his kicks are good, but his hands are not good in my opinion. So we will move on.
Let me just add prior, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I just had a question for you. From what I've seen, Ivan's been decently tough, and a guy who's never been knocked out. I mean, you got to think that he has that Mexican style in him. Do you think that finish comes earlier, or as Ivan gasses down the stretch? Because the other way I was looking was this over 1.5 is a bit too appealing for me, especially if it climbs to plus money, just because of that durability on both sides and that tentativeness of Iván. So maybe I could be wrong. I see a lot of people saying they're on the under here, but I'd like your opinion on that coming from someone who's betting the other side.
So the problem is, I do see what you're saying, because Iván is Mexican, he's tough. The problem is, I don't see any of the, like, when I watch all this tape, none of the guys he's facing are like really good strikers. So there's really nothing on tape to tell me if he has a very good chin or he doesn't. And that's the problem. Like, none of these guys are really big hitters. I honestly, the guy he lost to, it was all grappling, and the guy was basically taking him down. So there's nothing really to say if he has a really good chin. He damn well could. But, man, I don't know if many people can take some of those Ribeiro shots, man. He's got a lot of power, dude. And, even in the fights, that he's losing, he's dropping people. Like, he's got a ton of power. So, I don't know. He carries his power late, so I really don't know if it's going to end early or late. But I do think Valenzuela is very susceptible to get hit on the feet, and he's not very good when it comes to striking, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Let's go on to the main event.
All right, fight number 5. It's the main event at the 155-pound division. It is Thomas Paull versus Esteban Ribovics. Liam, kick this one off.
Yeah, I got the least strong opinion on this one. And it's because I got to do a little bit more research. Like you mentioned, I was on Clint's show earlier, so getting a little bit late to the game on this one. But what I do have is some notes on the line, as well as some notes on opening thoughts. So number one, looks to me like they are, kind of baiting people just a little bit in terms of the favorite here. You look at the no vig odds and you compare them to the market wide odds. They're basically booking an extra 50 cents or so onto the favorite and giving you like their honest price on the underdog here. So for me, that could mean a couple different things. It could either mean they're trying to trap you into parlaying up, a false favorite, or conversely, it could be their opinion baked into the line. You want to play the side we think is going to win, you got to pay an extra 50 cents. You want to play the side we think is going to lose, we'll give it to you for the price we see fit. Now, it's a tricky one, right? You've got some things to like on the Paull side. He does have power, and he does have some, marketability behind him. He's got a disability. He's got something in terms of a story, right? There's a lot of generic fighters out there. You have to ask why somebody makes it into the main event of a Contender series, right? Bo Nickel, there's no question, right? We all kind of clearly understand he's got the name, he's got the background. But then you start to ask yourself, why does this guy have a following? Why are his fights well attended? These kind of things. Now it's like this guy's got a story behind him. Probably a different fan base, a different source of fans to tap into than your normal fight community. So I think that that's all interesting on his behalf. On the other side, though, you got a 10-0 undefeated prospect coming out of the Latin American regional scene. We've talked about before on this show, on I'm sure on other podcasts that you guys have done as well. It's a little bit harder to evaluate sometimes the talent coming out of these places because they're not fighting the best guys on the regional scene. And I think that in this case, neither one of these guys has really gotten out there and put themselves in a lot of difficult challenges. So for that reason, it does seem a little steep to me to be asked to pay a 75% indication on a fighter of this quality. But that being said, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say because I have to do more tape and due diligence before I make a play on this.
Yeah, I really like, part of the breakdown that you have with the narrative aspect, right? Why are they putting Thomas Paull in the main event here? Guy has, almost 13,000 followers on Instagram. He's deaf. Would that look good for the UFC? Absolutely. Imagine for all the people out there that are deaf, using sign language and stuff like that, and they now have a guy in the UFC to watch. I do think that's something big. I mean, there's a lot of disabled people with that, and to have a guy like that that's marketable too, albeit, when you watch this guy, he's like a madman on camera. He's constantly yelling. He's got like a lot of rage in him, which that's how he fights. Thomas Paull fights if I'm to describe one way, he fights with rage, man. And his nickname is the Juggernaut. And it's not for nothing. Guy carries a ton of power, man. He's got a ton of power. When you tell me that a guy knocks, and I'm very familiar with Cage Warriors, and I know a lot of their fighters because I tape Cage Warriors all the time. His last opponent, Perry Andre Gooden, has a damn good chin, man. This guy has fought good guys. He's fought Reese McKee. He's fought Jack Grant. He's fought a bunch of guys. Yeah, he's been stopped, but never with a knockout to the face. The guy has a chin. When I tell you he has a chin, he has a crazy chin. And Thomas Paull flatlined him with a punch, man. This guy has a ton of power when he's throwing, and you could just see it. Like if he's hitting you, you're going out. I mean, he throws with abandon when he throws. Albeit he's not clean, he's not technical, but he's ferocious, man. He's coming forward. He wants to stop you. Every single one of his wins have ended inside the distance by knockout or ground and pound. The guy is a madman. He has a ton of power. And now you're telling me, this guy is plus, I got plus 285. And even at this point right here, at plus, you can get 265 on this guy. He's going to fight for your money. And when I'm playing a guy that's plus 265, which is what he is right now, and he's going to fight for my money, I'm going to take a shot with him because I do think he can knock almost anybody out. If I see him knocking out Perry Andre Gooden, then he can knock anybody out, in my opinion, because that guy has a beard on him. And Esteban Ribovics looks good on tape. I will admit, he's the much longer guy. He's the bigger guy. He's got good striking. He's a striker. He's primarily a striker. He's got a bunch of submissions. And when you see him, they're all Kimura over and over again. Armbar. I mean, the guy loves going for the Kimura. He even went for it in a bunch of his wins where he won by knockout. So he loves going for the Kimura when you're going to take him down. Paull is not going to go to take him down. He does not grapple. All he does is strike. That's all he likes to do. And the thing is, I don't think Ribovics is going to grapple here because he's also just a striker primarily. And again, this is a scenario where I say you're going to give a guy like Paull a fight that he wants, which is standing on the feet to give him a chance to lay you out. And if you're going to do that, I'm going to take Paull. I'm going to take the big plus money. Yes, Ribovics is the better technical striker, 100%. He's the longer guy. He's got good kicks. But Paull is a dog. And I want 265 when you're giving me a dog and a guy that has the power that Thomas Paull has. So with that being said, Thomas Paull plus, 265 now. I like that play. Is he going to catch Ribovics? I don't know. But if he does, I don't think many people can take his power. And, shout out to all the deaf people because I hope this guy makes it to the UFC. It would be a great story. Gordo, what do you got here, buddy?
Before I get in, can I just ask you guys a question for my own just curiosity? Yeah. Okay, so I know that he is nowhere near as marketable, so I get the entire narrative thing, but what percentage deaf is Askarov? Because I know he's deaf, right?
I think he's only on one ear.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he doesn't use sign language, Askarov.
Yes, because he can still hear a bit, right? Anyways, all right, that was just my own curiosity. Let's get right into this breakdown. This is one where I think there's just 2.5 ways to play this, right? It's pretty simple. You got, in my opinion, you have an insane number. I know you're talking about Paull moneyline, and I completely get that's probably a safe way to go, but Paull knockout at plus 525 is also a way to look at that. I think that's insanely wide. This is major win contained, in my opinion. All right. That being said, I do think that Ribovics has a lot of advantages in this spot that I do think, whereas it isn't justified for a huge minus 350 price tag, is justified to make him the favorite. I think you have one of these fights where it's the one guy whose win condition is probably that knockout power and being a dog versus the guy who is his fight to lose. I think it's Ribovics' fight to lose. He has the better advantages in a lot of this aspect. I think if he's ever losing this fight at all, he could take it down to the ground because we know that his ground game is level above, and we've seen Paull struggle with every single person trying to take him down. Everybody. He gets taken down easily. I know you're talking about Kimura, but I think if anyone's going to really allow Ribovics to show off other aspects of his ground game, Thomas Paull's going to allow him to do that. Now, I'm not betting the Ribovics side. I get the whole Paull narrative thing. I get the whole they want him to be in here. But from everything I've seen, Ribovics is the cleaner fighter, the more technical fighter, the better striker, the better grappler, the better wrestler, and it's his fight to lose. That being said, the one way you can play this is the under. That's what I'm taking. I'm not only am I taking the under, I think that's my favorite spot this week, but the submission line opened at plus 900 for Ribovics. I got it at 750. I think it's down to 500 now. That is also a spot I like because despite Ribovics being clearly a main air striker, just like Narcocop mentioned, you got to think that if he gets any deep waters at all, that ground game's there and he's going to be level above. And I think he's going to be able to go over and take an over on the ground. So give me that. What a shame. Give me a guy in Ribovics to win the fight. However, I think that there are better ways to target it. And I think you can take the Paull knockout, Ribovics sub, or the fight doesn't go either way.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight, honestly. I think it's a good main event, actually, because Ribovics does have, I will say he's the better technical fighter, and he's got the better, ground game, I guess, if he has any, but he does have submissions. So I just don't see a lot of wrestling from him. But, yeah, anything else, Liam, Gordo, anything else on the way out before we 85 people in here still hanging out with us? Go ahead, Liam. Go ahead, buddy.
I did have one thing, which was just that I saw him get dominated on the ground. Like, his skill on the ground is obviously not very good, but he's just Narco really pegged it. Like, he's a dog. Like, there's some people when you have a lack of skill on the ground, like it's a death nail because they're quitters, right? So they get in a really bad situation. If you've never grappled, like it's extremely uncomfortable when somebody's like on top of you in the mount. That's why you give up. It's not just about, he locked me in the choke. It's like, I can't move. I'm panicking. I'm claustrophobic. I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. So I'm going to try and roll out of here. And if I get submitted, like whatever, but then I'm done. That's what's happening. People are panicking. And I don't see that from Paull, or at least, it's not evident. Like the guy is in rear naked choke, just rolls through, gets back up and starts wailing on somebody again. Like he's kind of just an insane marauder. And reminded me of Volkanovski, not in any skill sense, but just in that when he was out of the choke, he's swinging back with everything in his power because he's like a competitor. He's like yelling at guys, get back up, and like swinging hands. Like he seems just like a loon. And I like that about him. So yeah, if I get a big underdog and he swings like a loon, I'm about it. He seems like the biggest problem for him is durability. He gets caught on the counter sometimes. So I think in this fight, he's going to swing for a finish, and, he might look like a plus 265 if he goes down in the first few exchanges. But I think if he's able to get a little bit of fight out of this guy, it'll be high variance because he creates that opportunity every time.
Yeah, I don't remember what fight it was. I want to say it was the Saeed fight where he gets dropped and he instantly gets back up and starts swinging. Like the guy is, that's what I mean. Like we have those fighters in the UFC, right? That we always say, if you're going to give me big plus money on this guy that's a complete dog. Okay, example, right? Just this past week, Nate the Train. I mean, yeah, that guy's more skilled. He's got grappling in his game, but he's a dog. He's a dog. You got to kill him to get him out of there. And I feel like this guy he has that in him. You have to kill him to get him out of there. And, big plus money, I don't think you can go wrong taking guys like this that are just gonna fight for your money, in my opinion. So, yeah, with that being said, 82 of you still in here. Hit that damn like button down there because all we do is give you winners in here. Hit the like, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Gordo's channel, Liam's channel, please. Next week, I believe we'll be in Gordo's channel for week number 5. I just want to finish it by telling everybody in chat, thank you very much for being here. Without you guys, again, we would not be here giving you this show. And with that being said, I will kick it off to Gordo. Tell them where they can find you, what you have going on for the rest of your week, because I know you're busy this week, Gordo.
Oh, do you ever know, man? I will be flying out Thursday night to go catch the card live in person. UFC 278 Saturday night. I will be there. I'm looking forward to that very, very much. So the content will be there. Like Narco mentioned, YouTube's in the description down below. I have tons of content lined up because you know what? If you're going to go to the fights, let's do it right. Liam, we know exactly how that is. Hopefully it goes better than the last time we know we're not going to talk about that. Anyways, I have a ton of content, Plays and Fade Sports on YouTube. I'll have DFS breakdowns, full cards, betting breakdowns, prop drop for Thrive, Prize Pick, all that stuff. Make sure to follow and subscribe to my YouTube right down below in that description. Twitter at GamblesGordo. Feel free to message me for anything like that. And like Narco mentioned, back on my channel next Monday. A lot of words. You just got me really excited for the fights this weekend once again. But check me out. Check out these guys, and let's make some money tomorrow.
Awesome, brother. Let's make some money. Have a safe trip. Enjoy the fights. And now I will kick it off to my man, Liam. He's writing all over the place, guys. He's got shows everywhere. He had a show before this. The guy's a busy guy, and he still makes it to do jiu-jitsu class, which is pretty impressive. Do you have any time to sleep, Liam? The people want to know.
I burn the candle from both ends, my brother. Sometimes I sleep. Sometimes I go to jiu-jitsu. All the time I'm about these fights. So appreciate everybody for the support. Appreciate you guys for being here for another breakdown. And yeah, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to get off this. I'm going to go back to reviewing the tape, reviewing my final thoughts, organizing them, and it's going to be available for the Action Network tomorrow. So if anything changes for me overnight, you guys will be the first to know. You can find all my work at LiamPicksFights, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, always talking about fights, breaking them down, Delphi Sports as well, if you want to go a little bit further in depth in terms of my notes, my official fight-by-fight, minute-by-minute breakdown. So appreciate you guys, and thank you all for the support. We'll be back next week to do it all again.
Awesome, my brother. Thank you. Go to that Action Network article. The guy writes great articles everywhere. The guy's a great guy, one of the best handicappers out there for MMA. But we cannot leave without doing this, guys. You Mushroom will just not do it. I mean, Gordo wants to go to sleep, Mushroom. You're killing the guy. All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Who wants to kick us off? Who wants to give Mushroom the Dana White's Contender? Go ahead, Liam.
I got you. I am a little bit underdog heavy on this slate, so I'm not going to go all 5. I'm going to keep it to 3. I'm going to be wise, and I'm going to pick Thomas Paull plus 265, Ahmad Hassanzada plus 176, and Cláudia Leite minus 104. Total parlay odds come out to plus 1876. I like the way that sounds. Plus 1876, 3-legger. Okay.
Beautiful. 3-legger plus 1876. Gordo, you want to give yours? Or are you not ready?
No, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. All right. My most confident play in the card and start off to the parlay is going to be the under in the main event, under the Ribovics Paull fight. The fight doesn't go even, minus 25. I'm completely with Liam. I'm on the Hassanzada side, but I'm also on the over in that spot with Narco. So we'll take the under in the main event, the over in the Hassanzada fight, and we're going to do something really dumb and take some low-level MMA, women's MMA, and throw Leite in there as well. All three together, plus 549. You add in Valenzuela, which is my other pick, plus 1,100. Let's go. Those are the 4 legs for me.
All right. Beautiful there. Just giving you big money props here on big money parlays for you, Mushroom. For me, I'm going to also go with the Leite side at plus 100. Then you'll give you, I like the Paull side, plus 265. So that's 2 dogs. And I will give you a 3rd dog in Claudio Ribeiro at plus 100. That will come out to, what is that baby here? Calculate it. It's 13.6 to 1. So there you go. $100 wins 1360 on the 3 dogs here. 2 of them are basically even money, but the plus 265 Paull dog. And yeah, that's about it, Mushroom. We gave you what you want here. Leave us alone until Friday with the Lambo Plays parlay. And I know you're going to come after me because I didn't give it last week. But again, thank you, everybody. Thank you to my 2 co-hosts. We will be back next week. And let's cash some tickets tomorrow, boys.